everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California, and today I'm going to make the shortest video probably ever. No, I'm going to make it on walking onions, and I found it important to make this one again. I made one a while ago, it was maybe too long, to let people know exactly how to make your walking onions walk. And let's walk through the yard while I talk about it. I have walking onions that are walking everywhere in my garden, and hopefully I won't trip. And they are just, like I said, let's see, there's walking onions all through there. There's walking onions all through here. Now let me show you what I mean as far as walking. Let's go over here. I'm gonna pick it so you can see it. It's down here. These are the baby bulbs, and they're like little onions. And I'll tear some apart so you can see what they look like. What this does, this type of plant, it's an heirloom plant, it folds over and it will walk basically on the ground. What it does is it goes along the ground, the whole plant will fold over, and these little bulbs, see how they look like? See, they will actually grow, each one will grow into its own little onion. Now, this is something people have to understand. These are not like the white onions or the yellow onions or the red onions you buy. These are not sets. These are alive. These are live plants. And of course the sets are alive too, but those are actually kind of went dormant for a while. These don't go dormant. These are alive little bulbs. See the green that's coming through? And they must be planted now. Now, this was still kind of attached to the mother plant. And so it was feeding off the mother plant and getting a water and nutrients and everything it needed. The main thing right now was it was getting water. If these fall to the ground and dry up, they will not grow. So don't put them in storage. It's much better to plant them now. When I plant them at all sizes, I get 100% growth. 100%. But when you store them, the little ones that dry out, they won't grow. So what I do in my yard is I've got little nurseries around, and when I see them on the ground, I pick them up. If they're very tiny, and this one's not, but if they're even tinier than that, I snap them apart, the big ones, and I plant them. But the tiny ones I do not. The tiny ones I will plant in the ground as a cluster. And this way it will grow together, and later on you can separate it. Once they take off, you could just pull them out of the ground. They're so easy to move into a pot. That's why I set up nurseries. You just yank them out and plant them anywhere you want, let's say in the spring, but they will grow. I just got hit almost by a hummingbird. Their feeders are not empty. Go away, I just felled them so I could do this. Anyways, the big ones like this, I snap apart. The small ones I leave together and I let them grow together only because sometimes if they're very tiny, they may dry out and then they won't grow. But they are just amazing plants. They get real tall. They have multiple names. They're called Egyptian walking onions. They're called walking onions. They're called tree onions. They've got all kinds of names. They're so cool. See what I've done over here? Over here, these are walking, but they're still small and they're still attached to the plant. So I leave them. But see, this one's starting to dry up down here, and if it dries up and I don't see it, the plant won't make it. It will die. The baby bulbs will die. The plant's fine. See my nursery back here? These are all tiny little baby walking onions. I find them at all sizes, and I just stick them in there, and then they grow. So the main thing right now is if you've got walking onions, and they're walking right now in Southern California and Arizona and Nevada, take them and plant them as soon as you can. Here is the perfect example on walking onions. See these? These have already dried out. See how the stem is all dry? Well, the onions are almost dead. Here's another one. It's on its way out, but I think I can save these. Once the stem dries like that, it's no longer getting water, these onions will dry out. So you need to get them off when they're still green if they have not fallen to the ground. If they fall to the ground and the soil is damp, they'll grow. But like this, here's ones, they're dead. They're probably dead, these, because they've been sitting there too long. And they got tall, they got about 2 feet tall, but they didn't bend over. Probably the other plants prevented it from bending over. And even if they did, if they don't set root, they'll die. There's another one that dried out. Hey, this is dried out. This probably, it may not grow. It doesn't have any green to it. When you have the bulbs, you've got to get them when they're still viable and green. You can store them for a week or two, but that's about it. If they dry out, then you don't have any more onions to plant. If the stem is very green, leave them on the mother plant. You don't have to put them in soil and wait till they root while they're still attached to the mother plant. These are really durable little bulbs. But the only thing they cannot take is drying out. And once they dry out, they're compost. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. As far as eating them, I've done that video. You can eat the whole plant. You can eat the little bulbs, these little tiny, as some people want to call them, sets, but they're not really sets, but they don't seed. That's another thing. If somebody's trying to sell you seeds of walking onions, don't buy them. What you want to buy are either the little bulbs, the top sets. They're actually top sets. Or you want to buy the whole plant, but you don't want to buy seeds because I don't know what they're going to grow into. Mine just continue to produce over and over and over. One plant can produce anywhere from 2 little ones to 50. It just depends on the plant. If you plant them like this, you can. If you want, just plant the 2 together. Just stick it in the soil just like this. And then later on, you could separate it or leave it and separate it as it grows. But the main thing is you make sure you get it from somebody. I bought mine on eBay. I bought like a half dozen years ago, and I probably got 1,000 of them now. Like I said, they're everywhere. As you'll see on my garden tours, they're growing everywhere, and they're throwing baby walking onions here too. Now here's a good example. Let me see if I can get you down here. See these here? These are already starting to dry on the stem. And if they don't fall over and get into the soil, and the soil's got to be damp. If you've got really dry soil right now, they're not going to set and they're just going to dry up and they'll just die, and that will be the end of it. So the main thing you want to do is keep an eye on your walking onions, grab them, and you know what? You can take them off too soon. I've taken them off when they're still very green on the plant and stick them in some damp soil, put them in a pot, put them in a container, put them anywhere you want. And it works so good, and you can put it anywhere. Stick it in a flower pot and then pull them out later as you need them. There's the easiest plants to propagate, and mine tend to walk, it seems like twice a year, so they're kind of done now. When I say done, they're full right now of baby onions, but they will walk again in a few months if the weather permits. I have had them walk twice, and then I end up with so many of them. I have to admit, I don't get to them all. Sometimes I find them on the ground and they dried up, and I've tried to plant them, but it was too late. You cannot let these dry up. So do not store them. These are not storable. These you need to get in a pot and water them right away and take care of them. If you're in an area where you've got snow, because they'll grow in zones 3 all the way up, we're in 10A. They'll grow everywhere. And during the time that there's snow, the sets, if they did not start to set root and they dry out over winter, you won't get any of the sets to grow. So you can take them in and put them in a flower pot and grow them in the house. The adult plants, the mature ones, they will just go dormant. All the green growth will die back, and then they will come back as soon as spring comes and the snow melts. They are fabulous. I use them for everything. They're so good in a potato salad. Any place you're going to use green onions, stir fry, everywhere. And you can use the whole plant. You can eat the little bulbs. You can eat the bottom part. It has a very small onion, but you could still eat that, but I don't. We only use the green part because the plant, to me, is valuable. I love the plant just the way it is. If I want to make fried potatoes on the stove, you know, I can use green onions. They taste so good. The first time my daughter tasted them, she said they were the best tasting onions she's ever eaten. So I hope I've given you a tip to get these in soil right away. Keep them watered, and you will end up with so many walking onions, you'll be giving your friends walking onions. I plant them everywhere. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.